India's Asian Tigers. Uday Mukherjee had travelled to Hong Kong and caught up with Andrew Swan, Managing Director and Head of Asian Equities at BlackRock. Andrew says he is looking to bet on domestic assets within India and not export-oriented companies. He adds that relative growth in the near term looks better elsewhere in Asia. Just listen in.
If you're a medium-term investor, I would say now is a very good time to be looking at emerging markets. Yes, they've bounced off the bottom, but investor positioning has been very light, so very few people have participated. Valuations are towards the bottom end of their historical range. To get back to long-term averages, there's still very strong returns from where we are today. And the earnings recovery is only in the very early stages after 5 years of no growth. So I never try to predict the short term. The short term is very difficult to predict and volatile. And so maybe markets do retrace short term, but I would say on a medium term view, the markets look very attractive.
You would be buying dips in emerging markets?
Yes, I would be.
Just a couple of final questions on India. How do you look at the export sectors in India now? Because since Donald Trump, IT has been an underperformer. Pharmaceuticals have not gone anywhere for the last year and a half. Do you see value there, or that is not the space that you are most bullish on?
No, we're mostly focused on domestic India, as I said, on a medium-term horizon. As I said, near-term relative growth looks probably better elsewhere in Asia, because we're seeing a recovery, whereas India it's more stable. Medium term, I would still favour domestic assets over the exporters in India. And I think there's some structural challenges for some of the large sectors there. And I do think over the medium term the currency has the potential to appreciate, which would be detrimental to the exporters.
And how do investors like you read what the government is trying to do? I mean, demonetization was a surprise clearly for most people. Now GST is coming on. I mean, from an investment point of view, how do you read what's going on in India from a policy landscape point of view?
I think most investors would see it, and we certainly see it as a positive, the structural reforms that the current government's been implementing over now many years. As I said, there's a cost to short-term growth for many of these things, but certainly an enhancement in medium-term growth prospects. And I think if you go back 12 months, actually Indian economy was starting to recover. And that was seen as an opportunity, I guess, to do another reform, which has a hit to short-term growth, but again, very favourable to long-term growth. So I think investors generally would perceive India positively due to the policy reforms that are coming through, but the benefits of that are probably more back-end loaded than near-term. And at the moment, as I said, the rest of Asia and some parts of emerging markets actually look better, relatively speaking.